Today, I'm in Millisle, a small seaside village in Northern Ireland, and in this video, we find out what connects a dilapidated mansion, this tunnel, a bunch of rocks in the Irish Sea, and one of the darkest and most chilling ghost stories ever told in these parts. This is freaky.
It's weird. Very weird.
Can you hear someone talking? Like voices?
Welcome to another video. Today I'm with my son Eli and we're going in search of a decaying mansion along the rugged County Down coastline that is steeped in both history and mystery. This is Woburn House, once a symbol of power, now famous for the ghosts that may linger inside its crumbling walls. Built around 1800, it was the summer home of one of Ulster's wealthiest mill families. But as time moved on, so did its purpose and its reputation. By the 1950s, this house of luxury became something else entirely. A borstal for boys, then later a prison training college. But there's one story that this building will always be famous for. Oh, and did I mention, we planned to camp on those rocks. Now those rocks carry quite a bit of significance in the history and story of Woburn House, because it's on those rocks that a fateful murder is said to have taken place. Am I mad? Maybe. Am I scared? Definitely. Let's see how we get on. As you can see, the tide's in right now and we've no access to the rocks. So in the meantime, let's go and explore a bit of the house and its surroundings. Local legend tells of a man named Robert Barclay, the house's butler at the time, and a love affair that ended in tragedy. Barclay, it's said, had an affair with a young maid, and when she fell pregnant, scandal loomed, and in an act of desperation, or maybe cruelty, he murdered her. Two slightly different theories surround how he killed her. The first is that she was slain in the house, her body then dragged across to those rocks in the dead of night, tossed into the sea, never to be seen again. But the story doesn't end there. Days later, it is said that Barclay, consumed with guilt, took himself to the top room of the mansion, where he is said to have hung himself. And that room, to this day, still carries the cold weight of what he did. there have been loads of eyewitness reports of visions of a woman around the grounds and in the gardens, sobbing and staring out to sea. Others insist they've seen the ghostly figure of the maid in the windows of the house, gently clutching her stomach, crying, her eyes fixed upon the waves. Beneath the mansion is a sealed tunnel that is said to be the path that her body was dragged through to get to the rocks, which are now known as Barclay's Rocks. There's the tunnel. There's the tunnel. Right. This is freaky. We're right underneath the road now. Hope it doesn't collapse on us. Can you hear someone talking? Like voices? What do we want to do now? You got a boat? So that's us. We've got our gear and we're just heading out to the rocks now. We're going to hopefully set up the tent and spend the night. These rocks, actually if you look on the maps, have been renamed Barclay's Rocks, and that's obviously after the butler from the mansion, from Woburn House. So there must be something in it that they've named these rocks after him. So there's a couple of issues about these rocks, apart from the fact that the maid might have been thrown out to sea here after she was murdered in the big house. A couple of other issues is that, as you may be seen, the tide comes in and surrounds us. So once you're out there, you're kind of stranded until the tide goes back out again. So that's one concern. Another concern would be that a couple of times that I've been down here, there's been lots of seals on these rocks. So hopefully not this time, because I don't know I don't know what a seal would do if it's seen human beings close by. Do they attack you, or do they run away from you? I'm not 100% sure and don't really want to find out. I should say I have checked the tide times, so if the calculations are correct, we should all be safe from the tide, that is. Maybe not so safe from any ghostly goings-ons. So this is Barclay Rocks, and as I said coming in, that is the official name for it. If you look on all the maps, the Ordnance Survey maps, you'll see that it is called Barclay Rocks. It could well be that these rocks were named after the butler, the now infamous butler, or there is a possibility that these rocks have been called Barclay's Rocks long before the story ever evolved, and someone has put two and two together to fabricate this whole story and put it into local folklore. Who knows? But there actually is, in the 1901 census, there is a Robert Barclay registered, and his occupation is a butler. So we are building quite a lot of evidence towards this story being true. It's just started to rain. Great. Let's get the tent set up. So there is a couple spots we could maybe put the tent here, just here, or just over there where he lies sitting. Neither are great, but we'll decide in a second. Also, I'm looking around at all this water this high up, and I'm hoping the tide doesn't come this far up. I'm hoping that is just from rainfall. We'll soon find out. So that's the tent all set up. It's not the perfect pitch. Of course, we're on rocks, so the ground's going to be a bit rocky. So we haven't been able to get all the pegs in all the way, and some we haven't been able to get in at all. But I don't think it's to get too windy tonight, so hopefully it's not an issue. We've put all the guy lines out. They're all over the place, but just had to get them in wherever I could. But it is looking pretty sturdy, and I say not many winds tonight, so hopefully we'll be okay. Yeah, right there. See that wee wave was? Just below it. They're getting closer. They're obviously trying to get up on these rocks. That's the tide coming in, but they're seeing us. Good to see the seals keeping their distance. I think it's best for all parties that they do. That seal is giving us some looks. Anyway, as you can see, we're pitched right in front of Woburn House, just in behind me there somewhere. The scene of one of the most brutal murders these parts have ever seen, or heard of, should I say. It sort of gives you an idea of the distance that the butler would have had to drag the maid's body in order to get her to these rocks, to throw her off and dispose of the body. The tide would have obviously been out, but right now it's closing in on us, and it won't be too long before we're surrounded by water and unable to get off these rocks, at least until the tide goes back out in another 10 hours. I'm going to make some dinner now before it gets too dark. It won't be too long before it's dark. I think sun sets about 7:30 tonight, so I've got about half an hour to make this. Tonight we are on salmon. I had planned on bringing the fishing rods and maybe trying to catch something for dinner, mackerel or something, but we're rubbish at fishing. And it's just going to be too dark by the time the tide comes in. So, shop bought salmon. Sorry, I just had to abandon dinner there. Just seen the most amazing sunset I've probably ever seen in my life. And that's saying something, because I've seen some good ones. Unbelievable. When those things happen, you have to drop everything and just admire it. Take photographs, take videos. Amazing. I've left Eli. He's continuing on with dinner there. I'm just coming down to show you the tides sort of in round us now. So this is where we come in onto the rocks. Just through here, as you can see, the tide has now come in. So we have no way off this island. Class, isn't it? Okay, so still getting over that sunset. Honestly, can't believe it. Amazing. So let's get back to dinner. The boys are starving. So finally, at almost 9 o'clock at night, we're getting our dinner. So there you have it. Pan-fried salmon, baby boiled potatoes chopped and fried, peppers, tomatoes, courgette, a lot of peri-peri salt. Looks good. That is absolutely gorgeous. Well, Eli, thumbs up. What was that?
It's amazing.
Yes! As you can see now, we're completely engulfed by water. The tide's not fully in yet, not fully in for another hour, but yeah, we're completely surrounded now by water. You can sort of hear the waves lapping against the rocks, which had me thinking, given the history of these rocks, imagine like if something washed up on the shore, like I don't know what, but you know those things that like maids would have wore, or I suppose any woman would have wore back in the 1800s, sort of put it on, made their waist look thinner. You know, imagine something like that washed up. Would it scare me? Of course it would. Those lights you can see are the bright lights of Millisle, the village in which I grew up in back in the 90s, before internet, before social media, before everyone was shoving a camera in your face. It's a great wee village to grow up in. You'd have just rushed home from school, you'd have threw your bag into the house, maybe grabbed a snack, a jam piece or a sugar sandwich or something, and straight back out with your football. You'd have met up with the lads up in the football pitch, you'd have kicked the ball about until the street lights come on. Then you knew it was time to go home. You were flying about in your BMX, just building dens and hiding out in the local forest. Yeah, what a time to be young. And now here I am, sitting, watching over the village from rocks in the middle of the ocean. I'm the guy that when we were younger, you'd have called a weirdo. Oh, it's funny how you change when you get older. Your perspective on things change. This to me is pure bliss. No sign of the butler or the maid yet. I'm just going down here because I keep hearing a noise. It's quite loud. Someone exhaling really loudly. What was that? Bird? Can't see anything. My light isn't strong enough to see out. Oh, was that it there? You can't see it on the camera, but yeah, it looks like a seal swimming about. Hopefully it's a seal. You know, just as we're coming up to midnight, sort of sitting here, pitch black, silent. It's just started to rain. You're completely surrounded by the ocean. There's no way off these rocks. And given what you know about these rocks, or what we think we know, you can't help but think someone might be watching you, or get that feeling that someone's watching you. It's really eerie at this time of the night. And you hear things, whether it's your imagination or not, you still hear things. It's weird. Very weird. That's us both in the tent now, probably for the night, as the rain's come on quite heavy and we have to get up early in the morning. The alarm is set for 5 AM because that's when it's low tide again. So if we have to stand a chance getting off these rocks, then we're going to have to do it then, before the tide starts to come back in again. So we'll have to get up, get everything packed away and head for home. But I did tell you that I would give you the second theory around the maid's death, and that is that the butler never killed her in the house anyway, but he did drag her from the house through the tunnel across the beach to these rocks, and it was here that he bludgeoned her to death and threw her lifeless body off these rocks. And there's people have said that they've seen the maid, her ghostly figure, on these rocks in the dead of night, wailing, screaming, holding her tummy from where she was pregnant. Now, whatever story you choose to believe, they're both pretty gruesome. So it's up to you to decide which one you want to believe. As for us, we're going to try and get some sleep. And unless anything goes bump in the night, we'll see you in the morning. Well, good morning. What a nice morning it is. The sea is calm as anything. And I just seen an otter there. Don't think I've ever seen an otter down around here. So that was good. Had a good night's sleep. Pretty uneventful night, thank goodness. No ghostly visitors. No raps on the tent. No crying and no wailing in the night. Got quite a good bit of sleep, unusually. I think I went to sleep just after midnight, about 12:30 or something, and slept right through to the alarm at 5 a.m. So the tide's on its way back in again, but I think we'll have about an hour or so before it sort of closed us in again. So just going to have a coffee, have a bit of a cinnamon bun, and then start packing the tent up and head home. Just like the butler did on these rocks, we've left no trace. The way it should be, you wouldn't even know we were here. If you've got this far in the video and you've enjoyed it, why don't you consider subscribing? And if you did like this video, I think you'll love the next one. Now we better get moving, otherwise we're going to get wet feet. What an idiot. packed the tent away in a hurry and hadn't sealed it up properly. So that was Woburn House, and that was Barclay's Rock, and the story of the butler and the maid. Now, to me, it's probably just a bit of fun. A story passed from generation to generation. Each time it's told, a little bit added on. If it were true, certainly about the haunting, do you not think we would have seen something? Or felt something? Do you not think the maid might have tried to reach out to us? Maybe got something to tell us? I don't know. What do you think?